Well, Nike started with a clear higher purpose when it started back in 1972, a purpose that really was beyond selling products. It was three simple words, we exist to serve athletes. And this belief that if you had a body, you're an athlete. So if you think about that, that's a pretty large marketplace, the world. And so you couple that with a mission of bringing inspiration and innovation to athletes around the world, that allowed Nike to continually invite new consumers, new athletes into their brand year after year. So by definition, you're always expanding the marketplace and the consumer set because you're growing the idea of what sport means or what an athlete is. So expanding the consumer base and in turn the marketplace leads to business growth. And ultimately, if you think about Nike's slogan, just do it, it's all about serving both the existing generations of athletes and the future generations of athletes. Well, emotive storytelling is ultimately how you build your brand persona. And as a brand, it's really important to feel personal, right? A brand should come across as a human being with different characteristics and tones to its voice. And you do that by conveying that through powerful storytelling. And this allows consumers to create a strong emotional tie with you as a brand. If you don't have that emotional tie, you're simply in a transactional relationship with the consumer. And you want to make sure you're in a long-term relationship where you're stirring emotions and you're building emotional equity into every touch point and interaction with the consumer. So ultimately, I look at storytelling as a way to make sure you're inviting the consumer into a journey and a movement that's greater than themselves. And ultimately, I would say this, remember that, a story without passion or heart or purpose, doesn't make a good brand any more than it makes a good person. Yes. Number one, brands must embrace empathy as a dominant leadership characteristic of their culture. Empathy is ultimately what allows you to see, feel, and hear the voices and experiences of underserved communities, communities within your own brand, right? Your employees and teams, or underserved communities around the world. And if you think about today, what's happening with this transformation is that employees, consumers, and even shareholders are demanding that companies have strong business growth, create brand strength, and ultimately do that while delivering social impact. And I have a saying, leave a legacy, not just a memory, right? And leaving a legacy means that you're creating experiences and solutions and stories that are with the consumer's entire journey over time, not just the moment. Well, again, it's important to understand that unlike a book or a novel, your brand story never ends, right? Ads, or as I like to say, stories, are opportunities to reveal the soul of your brand. And if you look back at Nike and how it's brought to life the Just Do It slogan through advertising over the last 30 years, it's always presented in a contemporary context, but the values are timeless. Okay, it appeals to both millennials and baby boomers alike because it's always broadening, again, that definition of sport within a modern context. And ultimately, this creates a democratic approach that really appeals to everyone. And brands can look at Nike and respect the inspiration as they want to continue to serve their own consumers while constantly looking to invite new young consumers into their brand. And whether that's the truth that you're revealing or the movement that you're trying to take a consumer on, regardless of their age. Authenticity is your cultural currency. How you started your brand, the passion that you had for your innovations and products is what you're respected for. So you need to ensure that the influencers you collaborate with generally share your passion for your innovation. They share your beliefs and your strengths. Your consumers need to feel this authenticity, because if they don't, then they'll know that you're faking it. And instead of building brand equity, you'll be eroding it. Speed and agility wins. Speed and agility has never been more important as characteristics of a world-class marketing team and process. And quite frankly, if you look at the world of sport and the most successful teams, their success is predicated on those two characteristics, speed and agility. So you're either capable of serving consumers where they are at and when they need you, or they will move on to someone else. So this means having a team that is fluent and competent in driving marketing strategies in real time, and strategies that are about showing consumers what's possible, while at the same time, you're reading and reacting to their behaviors and desires and serving those. It's just really important for marketers to not get seduced by the new noise and the toys, right? Because every day there's a new platform or digital capability that is being touted as bringing you closer to the consumer. So it's ultimately about making sure, as you're shifting your focus to a direct-to-consumer, digital, mobile-based relationship, you always have to still stand for what's the story you're trying to tell? How are you bringing a true, meaningful benefit to the consumer? And why should they care? I'm currently in the process of completing a book titled Emotion by Design with Hachette Book Group, and that is slated to come out in early spring of 2022. And within the book, it's really a guide on how brands and leaders can leverage creativity to create deeper emotional bonds with the consumers. Whether you're a leader of many or a leader of one, I believe there are specific principles that can help you be more effective at leveraging creativity within yourself and within your organization to be able to express stories and build experiences, whether they're in the digital or physical world, that will bring the consumer and your brand closer together towards a common goal. And so I will talk about what it takes to cultivate a creative culture within your company to drive innovation. And as I said before, it's important to use each interaction your brand has with the consumer as an opportunity to build emotional equity in that relationship, because ultimately we need to be more human as a brand in this digital age of automation.